All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. It's happy 8-1 Monday. 8-1's better than 7-2. This is the Horn Takes podcast, your very rough around the edges Texas sports talk destination. I'm your host, Sean Redfern. Today's Exaggeration Monday. And guys, Drunk Sean had a hell of a Saturday. Drunk Sean punted a flip-flop on Saturday. It wasn't so much of a punt as it was, I don't even know what I did. I don't even know what moment it happened in the game. All I know is at some point on Saturday, I didn't have a flip-flop on, and I couldn't find the flip-flop. And I pissed my wife off so bad trying to find this flip-flop and continuing to ask her where this flip-flop was that she went inside. And then I finally found it, and I guess I must have flipped it over my head because it was out on the pool deck behind me. I don't know. Very, very emotional up and down game for Drunk Sean on Saturday. And a very Jekkyl and Hyde performance by the Texas Longhorns on Saturday. Check us out Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday around noonish. Noon most times. Central time. You can check us out on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, at Horn Takes. If you just like to listen to podcasts, folks, you don't like to watch videos, you don't like TikTok, you don't really like Twitter, I totally understand all of those things. You can listen to our podcast at horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com or anywhere you listen to podcasts. So we're up on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the podcasts, Spotify. We said it, Jekkyl and Hyde. I don't think there's a better way to describe that game Saturday for the Texas Longhorns other than Jekkyl and Hyde. And I think you got to start Jekkyl and Hyde with the guy taking snaps, Malik Murphy. Man, did he look really good early on in that football game. He came out slinging the ball, and folks, he was making really good throws against man coverage. They were moving the ball efficiently. I don't know the exact numbers because I haven't dug into the numbers. We'll do that tomorrow on the after action review. But at the beginning of this game, through the first quarter, he looked amazing. He looked like the guy that I think I've been thinking he could be all along, going back to last season. I think he looked like the guy that Steve Sarkisian knows he can be. Just really efficient, really good timing, really accurate throws. Got the offense moving. Couple of really nice long balls to Adonai Mitchell, one for a touchdown, one that should have been a touchdown because Adonai Mitchell had his man burnt. And then the wheel sort of kind of came off on Malik Murphy. There was an almost interception right there at the end of the first quarter that was just a bad throw. There was an interception in the second quarter that I think it's tough. It's tough to tell because Jonte Cook fell on the route, but it's tough to tell if it was a good decision or not. To me, he didn't look like he was open or ever going to be open. He was even. You know how they say, if they're even, they're leaving. So maybe he was thinking that. Not 100% sure. We'll never really know. Ended up being just a really easy interception for K-State. There was another almost interception late in the second quarter that was a bad throw. That was the one where he was trying to go to JT Sanders in the back of the end zone. And then I think you look at that interception at the start of the fourth quarter was just, man, and I don't like to bag on these kids at all. I do not. It was just terrible. It was just a terrible decision. It should have just never happened. The only person that was out there was an offensive lineman. I believe it was Big Kelvin Banks. I don't know what happened on that play. It's almost like Jonathan Brooks just got caught up in the middle, got caught in some traffic. Maybe got held. I don't know. Haven't seen the replay yet. Haven't dug into all the details about this game. Again, this is Exaggeration Monday, and we just put it out there. We just put it out there how we felt on Saturday. So this is kind of a mixed up episode. This is going to be, we're going to bounce around a lot. Normally really good. Jonathan Brooks lays one on the carpet. By the way, that interception at the beginning of the fourth quarter kicked off like, it was 2 touchdowns in like a minute or something. 2 minutes maybe. I don't know. It was fast as shit. The game went from 27-7 at the end of the third quarter, close to the end of the third quarter, to tied up about 3 minutes into the fourth quarter. So that fourth quarter interception leads to a touchdown for Kansas State. Very next drive, Jonathan Brooks, who, as far as I know, hasn't put one on the carpet all season, and maybe in his career. I can't remember another time where Jonathan Brooks has put the ball on the field. Surely it's happened. Maybe not. Don't know. All I know is he's normally really secure with the football. He gets a fumble. He fumbles the ball trying to get some extra yardage. Really good play by a Kansas State player. That one leads to a touchdown. So what started out as like a really, really just extremely dominant offensive performance for the University of Texas. And man, Malik Murphy was a huge part of that. Huge part of that. Just kind of, I don't know what the hell happened, man. It was like the Boomer Schooner flipping over against whoever it was that time. Like just absolute meltdown. I don't understand why the deep ball is so tough for Texas quarterbacks. We saw Quinn Ewers struggle with it some early this season. Struggle with it some last season. Malik Murphy has been really good at it. Hudson Card struggled with the deep ball. And I think, again, I'm not trying to bag on Hudson Card, but that was like an understatement that Hudson Card struggled with the deep ball. I'm not sure he ever completed one while he was at Texas. And there was a lot of opportunities in this game. Yeah, he got the big long one to A.D. Mitchell for a touchdown. Yeah, he connected with him on a long one that should have been a touchdown. He missed one later in the game. Missed one to Worthy earlier in the game. That would have been a tough throw, in fairness. It's getting better, though. It's getting better. I mean, I think it's fair to say that this team last season just absolutely was hell-bent on getting the ball down the field, and they just couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it very well. This year, it seems a lot more natural. It seems a lot more within sort of the, I don't know. It's within the framework of the game. Like, the game is unfolding. The deep ball happens. They're connecting on it more often than not. So I think that looks better. It definitely does not look forced like it's looked for the last year. Really, this 2022 season. I thought the O-line did a really, really good job in protection, especially pass protection. Being down a starter, Big Cam Williams played the entire game as far as I know. I did not see Christian Jones 1 second at right tackle. And Malik Murphy never ended up on his back. They did a hell of a job against a really good Kansas State front. Real active, real gritty. I mean, you know, all those types of words you can say about Kansas State. That's what Kansas State is. And I thought the Texas offensive line did a really, really good job. Cam Williams did have a couple false starts that hurt Texas. 2 for sure, maybe 3. But that's just kind of how it goes. He hasn't been out there. So offensively, certainly, like, it's just amazing how good they can play, even with a backup quarterback. And then how bad they can play. Defense, man. The run defense in this game, we used the term last week against BYU that the defense was suffocating. To me, suffocating is a very strong word. if there's not another word that's better than suffocating, there should be, because that's what this Texas run defense was against Kansas State. I don't know what the final numbers were, but I do know Kansas State came into this game one of the best rushing teams in the country, and they could not do shit on the ground against Texas. I mean, nothing. Byron Murphy and T'Vondre Sweat, holy shit. And you know what? Kudos both of those guys for developing the way they've developed. And kudos to Bo Davis for being able to develop those guys as well. We talked about it on the show a few episodes ago about Christian Jones developing, his development at Texas. He was a guy that got forced into action, wasn't very good for 2 years, and then all of a sudden, bam, he has a hell of a season last year. He's having an awesome season this year. And we talked about how, the coaching staff is doing some of that, right? The coaching staff can point you in the right direction, can teach you the skills, can teach you the fundamentals, but the players have to buy into that. Christian Jones sure did, and my God, you can tell T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy had. They've got to be the two most disruptive defensive tackles in college football. Have to be. If they're not, I want to see this other group of defensive tackles. I thought the first half of this game defensively was just phenomenal. Phenomenal. All the way up until that block punt where they gave up a touchdown. Man, you can't ask your defense to do any better than that, folks. This defense forced some turnovers, and they forced them in some key points. And I really feel like those two early second half turnovers were big for the Texas defense, big for the Texas Longhorns, period. Kansas State went into halftime with some momentum, and the Texas defense, despite the fact that the offense wasn't playing well, turning the ball over, just kept taking it back. And I think without those two turnovers, this game could have got away from Texas where they wouldn't have been able to come back. The only thing I didn't like seeing in the second half was the coverage. The coverage went too soft on me. We saw a couple of blown assignments in the pass game. We saw a missed tackle contribute to a touchdown. A couple missed tackles contribute to a touchdown for Kansas State. Those are a couple of things. Those are two or three things right there that I felt like we did against Oklahoma as well. I felt like we did it against Houston as well. I don't know why. I do not know why you dominate a team in the first half playing press man coverage. And then as soon as you get a big lead, you want to back off that and make throws easy and make reads easy. Make guys have to come up and make tackles. Look, they should be able to tackle. I'm not saying that. But it's harder to make a tackle when you're not right there. It's easy on the quarterback when there's nobody right there. It's easy on a wide receiver when there's a 10-yard cushion. He gets to catch the ball for free, make a little move, and get up the field. I would like to see that go away. I know you got to mix things up. I get it, man. You can't do the same thing. I just don't feel like there's anybody on that K-State offense that was a threat at all to get by somebody in man coverage. I don't believe it. They just do not have the athletes to do it. That is not their game. When Texas got them to the point where they could not run the ball and the game was starting to slip away from a scoring perspective where Kansas State's starting to think to themselves, like, we just got to throw the ball now. We bailed them out. Missed some coverages, played way too soft, missed some tackles, and bam, they're right back in the game. Really huge hustle play by Barron Sorrell on the drive where K-State missed a field goal late in the game that would have tied it at 30. That kid might have scored from K-State if Barron Sorrell doesn't run him down, and he definitely tackled him short. Made it 3rd and 1. The play call there is a lot different if you're 3rd and 1 versus 1st and 10. Texas was able to get a stop, force another field goal. That's the kind of play that Texas wouldn't have made 2 seasons ago for sure. And I think there'd be points in games where you'd see this Texas defense not make those types of plays last season. But these guys this season, man, their motors just run. And I think part of it is there's so much depth on this team. There's so much quality depth on this team. There's so much rotation that happens on the defense that these guys aren't having to be out there the whole game. They don't have to try to conserve energy. They know when they're in the game, they can put it all on the field, and someone else is going to come in a few plays and do the same exact shit. It's little stuff like that I don't think a lot of people notice. I noticed it. As drunk Sean as I was on Saturday, I noticed that play, and that play was huge. That play could have changed the outcome of that game 100%. Kudos to Barron Sorrell for hustling his ass off on a little dump pass out in the flat. And I think the kid scores if he doesn't run him down from behind. Definitely gets a first down if Barron Sorrell isn't there to make that tackle. Special teams, another couple really nice punt returns by Worthy. Man, that guy, we said he was going to bust one a few games ago. He finally bust one against BYU. He came real close in this game. I think he's getting some confidence. I think that team's getting better as a unit. Burt Auburn, huge with the 3 field goals. What a season he's sort of put in after having a little bit of struggles early. He's made some really big-time kicks since he struggled early in this season. The block punt, I have no idea what the hell happened on that block punt. I don't know how the hell you don't block 2 guys. If you're those K-State guys, you're probably going, what the hell? Like, in your mind as you're running towards the punter to block that punt, you're probably thinking, like, what's happening? Like, am I on punked or something? Like, there's no way that these people in front of me just decided not to block me. So that was a big foul up, and that was a big moment in the game. At that point, Texas had K-State completely on the ropes, just absolutely on the ropes. And if you're K-State right there, there's not a lot of fight left in you. So I thought that was a huge play. They got to fix that. They got to figure out what happened there and get that fixed. We said Burt Auburn had 3 field goals. If Burt Auburn would have had the opportunity to kick 4 field goals, that overtime stuff might not have happened. Man. I love the aggressiveness, but to me it's almost stubborn aggressiveness now. You're going to have to take points. You got to take points. I don't know how many times we've been inside the 5 this season and got turned away. Go back and look at that Oklahoma game. Maybe the same thing. Maybe those 3 points we leave make a difference in that game. Final drunk Sean thoughts for this game. And again, folks, we will rewatch the game today. We'll have some more statistical analysis of this game. Exaggeration Monday is all about just drunk Sean and what he thought, what he felt during this game. Got a special surprise for you guys for tomorrow's after action review. I'm really excited. Talk about that here in a little bit. Final drunk Sean thoughts for the Kansas State game. The second quarter was just kind of like an unmitigated disaster. Like they went from being just completely dominant, absolutely about to shithouse Kansas State, to the wheels starting to fall off. They didn't completely come off, but they started to fall off. You had a pick. You had a blocked punt. They gave up an easy 7 right after that blocked punt. After, again, dominating the entire game. I did some hot halftime thoughts on TikTok, and I said, man, I was really disappointed. I knew we were winning 17-7, but I really disappointed in the fact that they dominated that whole first half. And in one quick, just a couple of plays, K-State right back in the game. And if I would have known that would have been the good part of the meltdown, I might not have been as upset as I was. But then you had the end of the third, the beginning of the fourth quarter, which was a biblical disaster. If the second quarter was a disaster, the end of the third, the beginning of the fourth quarter were just biblical disasters. They go up by 20 and give up a 75-yard touchdown drive to K-State. Something around in there. Pretty sure it was 75 yards. Then we have the pick on the screen pass that should have never been thrown. Shortly thereafter, K-State scores a touchdown. Then you have the Jonathan Brooks fumble. I believe on the very next play, Kansas State scores a touchdown. So the game went from 27-7 to 27-27, and luckily K-State botched an extra point. Like in a blink of an eye. Like if you just went out to the shop refrigerator to get some beer and a sandwich or something, you came back and it was a totally different game. And the crazy thing is, this game could have been so much worse from a turnover perspective. K-State dropped 2 picks, like dropped them. Here's the good part, though. After K-State ties it at 27, just a really, really big drive by the Texas offense. I thought Murphy had some outstanding throws on that drive, including a 4th down one to JT Sanders that was money. I'll tell you this about Malik Murphy, man. That dude, we've talked about Quinn Ewers and how he's just kind of like a sociopath. Like he does not have up-down emotions. Like he doesn't get super excited when big plays happen their way. He doesn't get really down at all no matter what's going on in the game. He's just kind of there, and he's just functioning, right? And I joke, he's not really a sociopath. Probably. He's probably not. But that's all I can liken it to, because there's not a lot of emotion. Ice in his blood, right? Ice running through his veins. Malik Murphy has balls. He is 100% not afraid in his ability to throw the football. And I kind of dig it, man. He just needs to get a little more consistent with his accuracy. Because there was a point there in that game, third quarter, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. He missed Xavier Worthy twice. Basically, to me, it looked like crossing routes coming from opposite ends of the field in consecutive plays. Had him open, just missed him. Just threw the ball behind him. So he's got to improve his accuracy, and he needs to improve his decision making. But man, he has got one hell of a big league arm. And I really like his swagger, man. I like quarterbacks that are not afraid. Because you can't be afraid. So yeah, man, Murphy had a rough game in spots, but he had really good game in other spots. I mean, it is what it is. He's making his second start. The defensive stand in OT, guys, that's something we haven't seen a Texas defense do in a long, long time. And at that point in the game, with all that had gone on in that game, just a battle like that for 4 plays inside the 5-yard line. Massive. Massive for that defense. Massive for the team, obviously. I mean, K-State has the ball 4 times inside the 5. I think it was inside the 5. It was definitely inside the 10. If it wasn't inside the 5, it wasn't much over the 5. And Texas just stonewalls them. Like all that domination you saw early in the game from their front 4, even in the pass rush, we saw Texas come out and get a couple quick sacks against K-State their first 2 drives. One on 3rd down. I think one was on 1st down that sort of set the tone for that drive, kind of put them behind the sticks. But we hadn't really seen much of that the rest of the game. I think Barron Sorrell, from a pressure perspective, might have had his best game ever as a Texas Longhorn. He was in the backfield a lot, and he was not just in there in the backfield. He was affecting the quarterback. But they just come out in 4 plays, 2 run plays that just get absolutely stuffed. And then 2 pass plays in a row where they got decent pressure on the first one. Must have had great coverage on the back end. Because Howard missed the throw on 3rd down into the end zone. And then on 4th down, the coverage was great. Where Howard wanted to go, he did not have anywhere to go. And the pass rush was amazing. Got to him. Forced him to throw the ball up. I'm not sure he wasn't down on that play. Doesn't really matter. The only thing that would have made that play cooler is if big Tavondre Sweat would have intercepted that and scampered down the sideline for a touchdown to end the game, which I think he would have just fell down. I don't think big T Sweat's running. That ain't his gig. But man, I got to be honest, folks. I'm sitting there watching that game, and after all that's happened, all that I can think of is Texas is going to lose this game. Just like how disappointing of a loss is this going to be? That's all I can think about. Just hell of an effort, man. Man. I don't even know what else you can say about it. Hell of an effort. Congrats to those kids. They never, ever thought that. That's why they're D1 football players, and I'm sitting on a chair. I felt like we ran the ball a lot and ran it well in this game. I've been, I think ever since I had this epiphany about Steve Sarkisian, I've been less and less upset with the running game and the usage of the running game. When Steve Sarkisian says we're a running team, he just means we're going to run it when we want to. Not we're going to run it and that's all we're going to do. Or not we're going to run it and that's going to be our identity. He wants to run it when he wants to run it. And I don't know why, but a couple weeks ago that just hit me. And I've been happier ever since. But I still think with the backup quarterback, there's some opportunity to protect him a little more. I guess at the end of the day, it's all about execution. Talked about Murphy being Jekkyl and Hyde. up and down, hot and cold. He's getting beat up online pretty bad and by Texas fans, and I just don't get it. I just do not understand this Texas fan base at all. I mean, they are clamoring for Arch Manning. You see it every single day on message boards and on Twitter. Next year, if Quinn doesn't leave, that'll be good for him to mentor Arch Manning for 1 year, so he'll be the starter. Or if Quinn leaves, Arch Manning's the starter. Folks, I don't know why anybody on the planet believes that Arch Manning is a better quarterback today than Malik Murphy. I don't know why you guys keep doing this. Like, Malik Murphy may not ever develop any more than he is right now. He may not. But that dude has Texas. He's won 2 games in a row for Texas. 2-0 as a starter in conference. And by the way, Texas has scored more points against Kansas State than anybody else has this season. 33 points on a team that was averaging 15 points a game coming into this game. K-State hadn't given up a touchdown in over 2 games before Saturday. And at times, Malik Murphy was shredding their ass up. So I think the upside for Malik Murphy is very, very high. And we're just seeing some of the downside. And that's just inexperience. I'm a quarterback that's never played at the collegiate level, and I'm having to start, and I'm having to do it in conference, and I'm a competitor, and I want to make plays. I don't know how long Quinn Ewers is going to be out. There's a lot of talk about how he may be back this week, maybe back next week. I think you can certainly say getting Quinn Ewers back will be huge for this team. But I've been really impressed with Malik Murphy to this point. And finally, folks, it's good to be 8-1, man. Texas fans, y'all are spoiled. I don't know why. And I'm one of y'all. And I feel like I can kind of be entitled and spoiled sometimes too. But we haven't been this good since 2009, man. And just enjoy this shit. Just enjoy being 8-1. There's all this talk about, who has to lose for us to go to the playoff? Who gives a fuck? Just keep winning, man. That's all we need this team to do is just keep winning. Folks, we're probably not going to the playoff. It's not setting up well for a one-loss Texas team to make it to the playoff. It's just not. Not saying it can't happen. Not saying it won't happen. Just saying it doesn't look like it's probably going to happen. And honestly, we don't have anybody to blame but ourselves on that. We should have finished against a mediocre Oklahoma team. We all knew Oklahoma wasn't that good coming into that game. And we pissed down our legs. Oklahoma made plays. They won the game. That's what's going to cost us going to the playoff or not. But the future looks bright to me, folks. We're poised to enter the SEC with a really nice roster, with some really good momentum. This team just needs to keep going out every single week, control what they can control, clean up some of the mistakes. There is nobody on their remaining schedule that can beat them. The only people that can beat Texas right now are those Texas Longhorns. Big 12 race, Texas and Okie Light tied for first right now, 5-1. Who would have thought Oklahoma State would be tied for first in the Big 12 6 games into Big 12 play after their start? I don't think a lot of people. And then you got a log jam at second, and that's 4-2. You got Kansas, Oklahoma, West Virginia, Kansas State, and Iowa State. I think looking at all of those teams, Oklahoma State probably has the easiest road to get to the conference championship. And I only say that. I look at the schedule for Texas. They got TCU, which is not great, but they got to go on the road. They got to go on the road to Iowa State. Matt Campbell hates him some Texas. I think that's going to be another one of these like close, sucky games to watch as a fan. And then they got Texas Tech at home. So the opponents aren't like, I mean, the opponents are sort of at the bottom outside of Iowa State. The other two are down at the bottom of the Big 12 right now. But Ewers is hurt. We don't know when he's coming back. We don't know what that's going to look like. And then flip it over. Oklahoma State's got UCF, Houston, and BYU. And I think that UCF one on the road might be a challenge for them. Houston could certainly outscore them. So I don't know. We'll see. I feel like Oklahoma State at this point in the Big 12 has the best shot to make it to the Big 12 championship game. And then I look at these two-loss teams. I think Iowa State has the roughest road out of any of these two-loss teams. Some of these maybe one of these two-loss teams gets in, you know. There's certainly opportunity for someone to blow something. But I think if you're looking at all of them, Iowa State's got BYU, Texas, and Kansas State. And those two last ones, pretty tough games. And I think you look at those two-loss teams, I think Oklahoma probably has the easiest shot to get in as a two-loss team. KU and K-State have to play each other, so somebody's gonna erase the other one on that deal and make them a three-loss team. Basketball starts tonight. Those hardwood horns at home at the Moody Center against Incarnate Word at 6 p.m. It's on Longhorn Network. And, folks, I cut the freaking cord, and I did not think, how am I going to get Longhorn Network? So this is going to be a shitty basketball season for me, and it's going to be a shitty baseball season for me. And I'm really upset. For whatever reason, Longhorn Network is not part of my ESPN Plus subscription. Interesting note, TJ Ford Jr. plays for Incarnate Word. So he'll take the floor tonight against the Texas Longhorns. So I don't know. We may talk about that game tomorrow. We may not. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know, folks. We're going to have to figure it out. Texas Baseball Fall World Series over the weekend. Remember this name. I don't have a lot of details because I don't have Longhorn Network anymore. Tried to watch it yesterday. Couldn't do it. But remember this name, folks. Will Gasparino. He's a freshman. He's like 6'6". He's an outfielder. Mashes baseballs. Really surprised he didn't get picked up in the draft earlier than he did. MLB's loss is going to be our gain on this kid. Watch out for Will Gasparino. What about running backs kicking field goals in the NFL? Man, I don't watch a lot of NFL football. It's not really my thing. I watch the Cowboys with my wife. But I was flipping through the channel yesterday afternoon, saw this Houston Texans game. And, man, I got to see a backup running back kick a field goal for the Houston Texans. And it wasn't no gimme, man. I think that field goal was a plus 30 yards. So, really cool moment. I don't know why, but I feel like that's a cool moment. I like that kind of shit. USC fires defensive coordinator Alex Grinch. Probably with a finally on there if you're a USC Trojan fan. His defenses have given up almost 32 points a game during his tenure at USC. And this year it's worse. It's like 34, 35 points a game. Like, they are just trash. You can't score 42 points and lose a game. You just can't. And expect to keep your job if you're the defensive coordinator. They got beat 52-42. And that just can't happen. You can't be a team that anybody wants to take seriously. Or you can't be a team that you expect people to take seriously if you go out and score 42 points and lose the fucking game. And that's exactly what happened against Washington over the weekend. And that's exactly why Alex Grinch will no longer be the defensive coordinator. The interesting thing to me is who is going to go fill that position and who is going to be any better. And is all of this just kind of a product of the fact that Lincoln Riley is more or less like a guy that just doesn't care about I mean, he's like a Mike Leach. Score as many points as we can score. I don't know. Be interesting to see who they pick up. Probably just an interim for the while. I don't know. Really, really excited tomorrow on the After Action Review to have Mike Hardball Harge from Texas Sports Unfiltered. This guy's on the radio. This guy's on a really, really successful YouTube channel, podcast type platform. Super excited to have him join us tomorrow at 12 noon. We'll do the After Action Review. We'll finish up the K-State stuff, and we'll do the quick and dirty on TCU and look ahead at that game. Maybe a little hardwood horns. We'll do some random college football thoughts for sure. Check out the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Please follow and subscribe. Won't cost you guys a thing. I appreciate the support. Email me at horntakespodcast@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms. I love them all. 8-0, baby. It's TCU week. Let's go get them cockroaches. You guys get hooked.